The Madden 25 franchise and presentation deep dive is officially live, and it will start with the video. A couple of disclaimers, I suppose, is I have kind of got a behind the scenes already on this. I flew down to EA in May for the College Football 25/Madden 25 event, and then most recently I got an extended breakdown from the lead developer on this. So I have a pretty in-depth understanding of all the features. It was kind of like an interview, and I asked a bunch of questions, some that I'd already been briefed on, and then more just finding out extra information. So I'll be able to tell you exactly what I like, what I don't like, what I care about, what I don't care about. You know, usually this time of year I'll release a video talking about the presentation and franchise deep dive, and I'll say, oh, I think Madden franchise will be good this year. And then when it is good, people go, I thought that meant it would be perfect. And it's never going to be perfect. And this year especially, I'm going to say something that I think a lot of you are not going to want to hear to start, which is I think it's more of a building year. So I'll explain why I mean that in a little bit, but let's go ahead and start with the franchise deep dive video here, and we'll talk about some of the features. There are a lot of nice quality of life changes, and franchise as a whole, if you want the real cliff notes of it, is going to be centered around revamped scenarios this year, which I'm sure they'll hit on here, but I have not seen the video. So we'll go over this. Mike Tirico on the commentary, like that. Nice change. But presentation's super important for franchise. We know that. New uniforms. Yeah, dynamic storylines is their big selling point as far as I can kind of understand. Now, the thing I will say is, yes, I want relocation. I want a better sim engine. I want all of these things, right? Know that I want these things. Know that I've brought it up to the developers, but also know that I can't spend an entire video talking about a million things that I wish were in the game on the deep dive. So know that I want those things, but we're only talking about what's in here pretty much for the purposes of this video.
And a number of refresh.
Seeing Saquon on the Eagles is devastating. No way around it. Devastating. This will be nice. This is only something we've been asking for a decade at least. Seeing players actually go on the stage is a game-changing experience for the draft. It really actually is. Because the alternative was nothing, which kind of lame. It's a huge difference maker, in my opinion. It'll just feel a little bit better, I would guess.
The draft experience also includes a new draft prospect board.
Now, I will say another thing for the draft is, man, if our focus of franchise mode, and I know this is one of the focuses, is make the mode feel more alive. I know they've changed the hub, they've changed the news tab, and these things are designed to make the mode feel more alive, the league feel more alive. We need to see big trades in the draft. We need to see teams actually make moves, and that hasn't happened I honestly can't even remember if ever. Not for the past 10 years we haven't really seen trades in the draft, so that's a huge part of the draft. That's part of what makes it fun. It's unpredictable. It's crazy. The draft in the game is not unpredictable or crazy. I will say that.
Searching for the fastest wide receiver
available. The board, this is, again, when I was talking about quality of life changes, oh my goodness. This is absolutely game-changing from what we had. You can actually sort by what you're interested in. You're at the end of the board or wherever you are, really, and you're like, I want to add some speed to my team or jumping ability or whatever you want. I want big strength in the trenches. You can actually sort by that now and draft players based on traits you like.
It's simple. You can sort players, see their projections, and make certain you're choosing the right one for your roster. You'll also receive more in-depth analysis, both during and after the draft.
So this is their new screen for when you draft a player. You get grades based on everybody, not just first-round picks. And I believe, if I remember correctly, everyone you draft will be pictured in some type of suit or something of that nature. And it's based on, so not only how good they are, but where you drafted them. So you'll get a pick grade on every single pick that you make, And, of course, you'll see the scouting report again. I'm assuming that this is the same scouting report that you see initially when you're actually scouting these players. So these will likely be based off ratings more so and attributes more so than just traits like we've seen in the past. Because speed moves will stress offensive linemen. That might be like, uses the finesse moves trait or swim move or whatever. But will strength translate to the NFL? Historically, there has not been a strength trait. That's just been an attribute. And then struggles to get off blocks is a block shedding thing that typically isn't a trait that we have. So unless they've changed a lot of things there, which I don't believe they have, scouting report might be more in regards to attributes and not dead trait giveaways now.
As well as
that could be a thing
that lets you know how you did. In Madden 25, new player personality management and dynamic storylines in franchise mode are critical to your success. As you shape your team, you'll face situations that real coaches do, like dealing with trade rumors, guiding off-season workouts, and defining your team's culture. Now, you have to consider your players' actions, wants, and needs. Having to make promises that players expect you to keep, which can be consequential or...
So I'll give you an example of one of these different things here, like the different scenarios. We were shown, a few different examples down at EA in May, and apparently there are many, many different ones. I think something in the neighborhood of 70 or 80. Yeah, so I wrote down over 80 brand new storylines. And brand new, some of them are, I think, from what I've heard, are similar to some that we've seen in the past, but they function differently. So a lot of the time in the Madden 24 and previous editions of the game, previous iterations, you'd see storylines, and of course it would kind of directly lead to a breakout. And one that's different this year that I can remember off the top of my head is that a player shows up to training camp like overweight, and as per usual, you would react to that, and then that'll lead to either a boost or a decline depending on how you react to that in certain scenarios. Now, that one is just kind of like an example, spitballing a little bit. Of course, I don't know exactly how it's going to play until I play the game, but of course, discipline culture here, you get a little bit of a boost here. Your players will receive a +3 boost for the entire season in pursuit and play recognition on defense and carrying on offense. So they're now a lot more impactful. Players can demand trades now, if I didn't mention that. So the scenarios is kind of what they hope is going to drive Madden 25 franchise mode.
That can last for seasons, allowing you to write your NFL story the way you intend.
And also, previously, player personalities pretty much did nothing, right? Because we would be able to see these players. We'd see their personality. It'd be team leader or charismatic or whatever it said, right? Those are a couple of examples. Now, they actually mean something, and you'll kind of have to press the right buttons on these players, as far as I understand, to, trigger the best response and best result, so to speak.
Madden 25. So you can assemble an NFL powerhouse.
And this is kind of like why I really want expansion, because team builder's cool, but you have to replace a team when you're joining in with team builder. So you're not adding a team, you are replacing the Tennessee Titans or whoever you want it to be if you're joining the AFC South. And the Titans will cease to exist, for example, which to me, I don't know if I would say immersion breaking, but borderline, right? So that's why I think that long-term expansion needs to be a feature in Madden, but not this year.
From the ground up, your entire roster and team is completely in your hands. You can even share.
And it's the same type of functionality that you'll see with the College Football 25 team builder. It is a little bit different as far as I understand, but I mean, same, make your uniforms, make your field type of deal.
Team online or download from the community's top designs. Then import them into franchise mode and take the league by storm. Other updates to franchise include over 1,400 more team and rookie records this year, like the rookie passing yard.
This is another big focus for them, is actually showing off records if you accomplish something. Yeah, this is one of those things where you kind of can't believe it wasn't a bigger focus before. It wasn't in the game, period. It is just a nice quality of life change to kind of make the league feel more real. If you have Christian McCaffrey and you're rushing for over 2,100 yards in a season, that's absolutely insane. There should be some focus about how wild that is. And it's nice that we at least have that now.
And the all-time rushing record for your franchise.
And there are now rookie records added in, where previously you'd have to know that, and now you can just see it in the game. This is the same functionality as the actual records that we've seen before, with in-game or for a season, for a career, but now rookie records are added in as well. Not only in a game, but in a season, obviously, as well.
Franchise Central, a new home base, simplifies league creation and navigation. And the new personal message delivery system, which brings you messages from members of your organization. Other updates this year include female create-a-coach models, improved draft selection and free agency logic, revamped progression that allows younger players to become stars faster.
This is another thing, a big point where we were on the exact same page, is that you need to be able to develop young players. And how often can you tell that a player is going to be a superstar? Sometimes it takes longer, right? But if you're a superstar receiver, let's say Jamar Chase, for example, you could see after his rookie year he was going to be a special player. Why would he go from like a 77 overall to an 81 when you can tell he's going to be special? There's got to be a more significant boost to true superstar type players, and I think we're going to see that now. And offensive lineman was a big pain point for me. That's, a position that's especially difficult to upgrade, and there will be tweaks to progression over the year, I'm sure. But it seems like progression is going to be a little bit quicker when you actually get superstar type players, even on the offensive line, which is nice, if true.
Franchise mode in Madden 25 looks, feels, and sounds different. Experience new turnover celebrations, an overhauled Super Bowl presentation that includes Hall of Famer Randy Moss and the Commissioner Roger Goodell. In Madden 25, new broadcast teams are being introduced featuring Kate Scott, Brock Heward, Greg Olson, and yours truly. We'll be joining Brandon Gaudin and Charles Davis in the booth with new reactions.
This is another nice change that, won't impact me personally. I turn commentary off because I'm the commentator of my own series, as you guys probably know. I do like Brock Heward. You got to meet Kate Scott when we were at EA in Orlando. She seems very nice. And, Greg Olson and Mike Tirico, especially Mike Tirico, two very good NFL commentators. The only problem with new commentary teams for their first year is there's only so much commentary they've already recorded. You're probably going to hear some of the same lines used more often than what you might get with Brandon Gaudin and Charles Davis, and I'm sure that does happen quite a bit. But this is something that, as they continue to use these new personalities, should get better and better and better over time. But for the first year implementation, there's only so much commentary they would have been able to record. It's important to remember that.
The Vikings scoring a big play pass.
In Madden 25, over 1,000 new on-field sound effects make big hits and more heard just as much as they're felt. And improved crowd audio is sourced from NFL films for chants and reactions.
These are interesting Texans uniforms. See how they look on field, but I might be a little mixed. But I also kind of gravitate towards the clean uniforms more so than some of the crazy ones. Like, I think these Jets uniforms look pretty good, even though they're very simple. But these Texans uniforms, I don't know. It just seems like a lot to look at. I don't know. It just seems jarring, to say the least. And the helmet doesn't really pop as much as I thought it might. We'll have to see how it looks on field, of course. But the numbers, the red is just jarring to me. And maybe I have my saturation juice to my monitor. It doesn't look as crazy as the one above me. Maybe it looks a little bit better. But all right, it's time for the Madden NFL 25 franchise and presentation deep dive. Josh Lubin is the lead designer, and I will say I have a ton of faith in him. I really do. He seems very passionate. It has the same vibe of the College Football 25 design team. He was at EA a long time ago when the mode was really, really good in the early to mid 2000s, And I think getting him back in a huge role here on franchise mode is going to make it very, very good long term if we can actually see the vision play out. Yes, Madden NFL 04 and the lead designer on NFL Head Coach 09, which I've played on this channel, as some of you guys will know. That game mode, or that was basically a game mode. That game, though, was extremely detailed and task-oriented and very risky, but the true franchise mode fiends probably loved NFL Head Coach 09. The simulating time sucked because it was, NFL Head Coach 09. Nowadays, we've kind of fixed these slow simulation times, but that mode took a lot of risks, and for the true franchise heads, that was a ton of fun. But we'll talk about, some of the things in a little bit more depth that we didn't hit on so much in the actual trailer, but I'll read it out loud so we can kind of be on the same page here. So, manage personalities through dynamic storylines. In Madden NFL 25, you'll craft your franchise story through more than 70 brand new dynamic storylines, making you feel as if you're running an NFL team, which is always the goal for franchise mode. Players will remember what you say and the promises you make, and these storylines won't just take place over a single game. They can span entire seasons. You'll feel like you're actually managing a team and not just looking at rows in a spreadsheet. Just like a real NFL coach, you need to know your players and their unique personalities, and we're going to be walking through that coming up here with some different examples. So this is one that I talked about briefly. We'll get an actual in-depth explanation of it now. So in one of their storylines, you'll have a player who shows up to training camp out of shape. How you react and the choices you make will have a different impact based on your player's personality type. Push the right buttons, you'll motivate him to play better than he normally would for the first 3 weeks of the season. Say the wrong thing and he'll start the year out of shape. In another storyline, reporters put you on the spot at the start of the offseason and want to know if you have a plan for the offseason. Be careful what you commit to because your players and the media will hold you to it. If you say the team will go out and make a splash in the NFL draft, you're going to have to answer for it if you don't. Now, what exactly will that mean? That's a little vague. We'll have to see. As far as a player showing up out of shape, I think if they have like the leader personality type, you're like, hey, you got to set a better example for these guys. And they're like, hey, you're right, if I remember correctly. But again, things could change from when they showcased this the first time to me in May. And as for how you're going to have to answer if you don't make a splash in the NFL draft and what a splash actually means, I do not know. I really have no idea. Could be a team morale thing, I would guess. But as for what making a splash is, does that signify a trade up? Does that signify a top pick? Does it signify one of the best players? No idea. Another one of his favorites is when your players point out weaknesses in the opposing team as you're meeting during a strategy session. You get to choose how to attack that weakness, and the level of risk you're willing to commit to determine if the team is successful determines your reward. So that kind of seems similar to, like, and I'll say similar, not the same, because this is different with the actual scenario engine, but when you're going into a game and you pick, do you want to contain the quarterback and you'll get boosts to certain things and your pass rush will be not as good as a result? So will it impact that way? But instead of being, in the game strategy session as you're loading in, this is just pre-game scenarios. That's kind of how I understand it, but I don't know. We'll have to see. But they're recreating as many situations from real life as possible. So you'll even be given the choice to sit your rookie quarterback for the entire year to develop him like Patrick Mahomes did. If you can commit to that and be patient, even though Mahomes did play the final week of that rookie season, the reward he'll receive at the end of his first year will set him up for success moving forward. So now you might have more of a benefit to sit your rookie quarterback for a bigger boost to overall long term. All of these dynamic storylines take place in new environments like the team meeting room, coach's office, press conference, practice sideline, and your locker room. So a little bit nicer than just the same thing that we see pretty much every time with a player. But also, like we've seen, press conference, podium, pregame before. So it looks like they've added coach's office and practice sideline, I would say. Coach's office we've kind of seen before, but I don't know if we've seen, and not that it makes a huge difference, right? But it is nice to get different settings slightly. But in all of the storylines, the choices will have a big impact, especially when it depends on the personality types of the players. There aren't any dynamic storylines where your choice doesn't matter, and making the right decision could change the entire narrative of how your team performs on and off the field. So this is going to be the main focus, as I said, for Madden 25. It's going to be at the forefront during intense contract extension negotiations and trade demands. You'll influence offseason workouts and help players through slumps or historic seasons. Additionally, revamped breakout storylines provide a variety of new and impactful ways to improve the emergent players on your roster, which is what franchise is all about. Acquiring talent, developing talent. To me, that's the crux of the mode. The offseason's the biggest part to me for franchise mode. Of course, playing the games to a lot of people is super important, but I'm all about acquiring talent, developing talent. That's why I love the draft. I love free agency. And then I love seeing these players get better. So they've apparently completely revamped breakout storylines, rebuilt each one from the ground up. And I'll just mention one here that will allow you to choose the difficulty of the goal for your breakout player heading into their next game. So previously we had gotten, okay, if you want Superstar X Factor development trait, you got to go out and they have to have, 400 yards passing and 4 touchdowns with no picks. Otherwise, sorry, nothing. Now it seems like you'll actually get a chance to set what you want. Maybe it's 250 yards passing, 300 yards passing, 350 yards passing, and 400 yards passing could take a normal player up to star, superstar X Factor, or whatever it is. But that'll be interesting. So if you decide to choose the easier goal, you'll receive less of a reward. Choose the hardest challenge and succeed. Watch as your player has the potential to jump multiple development slots, earn a huge chunk of XP, or even multiple permanent attribute upgrades. In addition, they have a variant that allows for instant gratification where your breakout player will instantly upgrade in development following a strong performance and will have the opportunity to follow that performance up and progress even more. Another variant allows you to choose how to approach a player following a strong performance, approach it passively and risk less penalty upon failure, but also earn less of a reward if you are successful. So there's give and take. Approach it aggressively, and you'll earn huge upgrades for the player, potentially catapulting them into superstardom. On the flip side, if you fail that aggressive challenge, you risk potentially setting the player back for the foreseeable future, which is kind of how it should be, right? Within the actual mode, you should make decisions that have the potential to result in big bonuses, but also if you fail, you need to have some type of penalty. Right? That's what makes the mode and the management idea enjoyable and maybe more challenging and more thought-provoking. It's a little bit boring if it's just, okay, they have -3 morale for this week and that's it. Or nothing if they fail a challenge. Oh, coach, I didn't have it this week. I guess my dev trait's not going up. Now, seems like you actually have, again, some big potential bonuses and some big penalties. So, lastly, I'll say there's a variant of the breakout storyline that can last for either a week or half the season. They really wanted to emulate the stories of players like Isaiah Pacheco and Puka Nacua, who broke out after the season started and came out of nowhere. Some of us did predict the Puka Nacua breakout. If you watch a certain Madden 24 Rams rebuild, I'm not going to name any names, but you can see that on my channel. In this variation, sustained success will keep the storyline going and will give you the chance to turn normal or star dev players into X Factors, with every step along the way becoming more challenging. So half the season breakout challenges is a huge change. Experience a new NFL draft night. I will say, beyond just the NFL draft board in the draft, this is changed in the scouting section as well. You can sort by all of this, and it actually looks, from what I remember, maybe even better in the actual scouting screen. It's very easy to decide who you even want to look at in the first place. You can see scouting percentage now here and how that relates to players, of course. So you can sort by players you know a ton about. Just the sorting functionality, I think, is a game changer. And of course, with the prospect hub. That's pretty much what this is going to be, but outside of the draft player screen. So to reduce friction in the scouting and drafting process, we've completely redesigned the prospect hub in Madden NFL 25. Previously, in order to see a prospect's athletic grades or physical measurables, you'd have to go all the way into the player card, something I've complained about at length. This year, we brought all prospect information forward into a more familiar spreadsheet format, and you'll now be able to view and sort all prospects by their region, attributes, physical grades, as well as both combine and pro day data. So it's going to be funny because they mentioned it at the start, like the game is not supposed to be a spreadsheet, but some things need to be a spreadsheet. So I wonder if it's going to be funny to see people complain about, well, they said it wasn't going to be a spreadsheet, now then this is a spreadsheet. Listen, some things you have to be able to read in the spreadsheet format. That's why spreadsheets exist, so you can see things quickly, sort by that data, and then make decisions based off that. But the entire mode shouldn't be a spreadsheet. We don't want this to be like out of the park baseball, for example. It's got to look, the presentation has to be a little bit better than that, in my opinion, if you guys are familiar with that game. So you'll be able to sort all prospects by region, attributes, physical grades, as well as both combine and pro day data. Whether you're searching for a wide receiver that ran the fastest 40-yard dash or a corner that has the best man coverage grade, you can do that quickly and efficiently, making the scouting and drafting process a more seamless experience. I mean, it's simply a no-brainer. You have to have that, and they finally do. Franchise Central, your new home base in franchise. They've changed the screen a bit. They've brought top stories onto the right side and also messages being brought to you. This is hopefully going to be a big-time game changer for feeling the life of the mode, which is what I've said should be a huge focus for them. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in here so this is a little bit more readable. And I would say that, yep, their whole idea is to bring things that should be more impactful to you. So, hey, coach, this is from the GM. We might have an opportunity to improve our tight end since Juwan Johnson from Dallas is on the trade block. I guess he got moved. He could be better than Jelani Woods. So if we're the Colts and we have Jelani Woods or whoever we are, well, we could upgrade at the position. Maybe we go out and make a trade. So now we know when players are on the trade block, right? We also have scouting reports. The defensive coordinator, Marlon Burgess, says we need to be creative with coverages this week. CJ Stroud, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell are going to cause us problems on every snap. That may be not so impactful, but, I guess tells you a little bit that you could, mix up your coverages. Don't let the QB get too comfortable. We'll see what happens with that. I just think the home base is going to be a nice quality of life change, and we'll have to see how we feel about it after playing it for a year. But it does feel like it's going to be a nice quality of life change. Team builder we know about, not really much to touch on there. Kind of talked about team and rookie records. I do like this feature though, because it's a foundational feature within the mode. Roster AI and progression. So similarly to how the most savvy front offices operate today, AI will emphasize extending the contracts of young core talent while also waiting for the offseason to make decisions on veterans and depth players. During the NFL draft, teams make smarter selections centered on long-term roster improvements rather than focusing on immediately filling roster spots. Refined player progression ensures that older players regress physically as you would expect, which I know they tried to do previously and did a little bit, but not entirely. So while younger stars receive more opportunities to make an impact in the league early in their careers, you'll no longer see Derrick Henry get faster at 31 or 32 years old. And if your young quarterback plays like CJ Stroud did last year, he'll certainly be rewarded for it so that he has the ratings to reflect that he's one of the most exciting young QBs of the future. They've retuned AI logic and free agency, NFL draft franchise tags, re-signings, and more. And of course, female avatars if you're into that. I do think there are female coaches in the league. If you're, a female that plays the game, it's cool to have representation. But, obviously for me, not a game-changing feature there. But I do think it's cool to be more inclusive when that's a thing. We know girls play the game, women play the game, whatever you want to say. And there are female coaches, so why not? No problem with that, obviously. Why would I? Presentation. They've just tried to be more realistic, minor tweaks, major overhauls, everything in between. Terrence Newell, the art director, really cares about this stuff, which is nice. And the game does look visually very good, I would say. So That is a nice feature. It's got to look good. Gillette Stadium has changed in real life. They've implemented that in the game. Motion blur, seeing it in College Football 25, is kind of a game changer. The game just kind of looks better as a result. It might be a little bit jarring at first, but once you get used to it, you're like, oh yeah, this looks like an actual player now. Because when you're watching a game, motion blur exists on your eyes, right? But in game, we didn't have that at all. So it was kind of like, I can't put my finger on why it looks a little bit weird, but it does. And now with motion blur, you're like, okay, that actually looks a little bit more realistic. And if you played College Football 25, I think you know that. But that's pretty much it for me. You know, the rest is kind of things that we've touched on already, but the main crux of the mode is going to be with player development, revamped draft, and the storylines is the big focus. So I think it's going to be kind of a building year, in my opinion, but certainly could be a good year. So I'm excited for Madden 25. And of course, you know what? I'll tell you guys. My franchise team for Madden 25